And in today's video, I'm going to show you how the major scale Ionian and the Mixolydian mode are different. Major scale is a mode. It's the Ionian mode. It's the first mode. And the Mixolydian is really the 5th degree of the major scale. So they're very, very similar, but yet different in one way. Say we're in G major. Okay, right? We got the G chord right here. You could play both the G major scale which is actually the Ionian mode as well. Ionian is the first mode. Or you could play Mixolydian mode, which would be like this. So the only thing I'm changing here is the 7th degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major scale. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Mixolydian mode. Back to the root. Now that gives you a minor 7th degree right there. And that's a big difference right there. With an Ionian mode, the 7th degree, because it's major, gives you a G major 7 chord. The Mixolydian will give you a dominant 7th chord or a minor 7th chord. So it'll give you a chord that sounds like this. Or like this. So regular G chord without the 7th. G major 7th. And a G7. It's like that. Now let me show you in context with some loops here. I created a couple loops. The first one, and I'm going to blend them into each other. The first loop is I'm playing over a Ionian mode, which is a major scale, and then I'm going to bust into the Mixolydian mode. And you'll hear the differences in how they're used right here. Check it out. It's just a looper that I create, just the loop that I created on my looper here. My RC5 Boss looper. Major scale right there. All right, so I went from the Ionian over to the Mixolydian mode, back to the Ionian mode, and you hear the difference. One's a happy major scale sound, and the other one's more of a bluesy type of sound. And if you're enjoying this video so far, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notification. Now check this out, what you can do real quick with this one. The Mixolydian one. You can actually play the minor pentatonic here too. Come on. Blues scale. But end on the major. Mixolydian. And then blues scale. To the major. So the Mixolydian mode has its benefits that you could slip in more of a bluesier sound in there too. And it's really the major scale with just a minor 7th degree in there. G major scale. If I play the Mixolydian mode, it would be like this. So I played this note. I played an F instead of a G right there. So that's really the difference right there. And that one note is such a difference because it's the 7th degree. You know, it's a 7th degree of there, and that's really important because it gives you that total like dominant bluesy sound, as opposed to, well, that's more of a leading tone. You get a half step into the G. What's really important to know here is that this Mixolydian mode comes from a major scale. It's the C major scale. So if I played the C major scale, much like I played the G major scale, it's the same scale, only it's one's a C major, the other one's G major, obviously, but at the same degrees and everything. If I started the C major scale on the 5th note, check it out. So I'm going to bust right into the G Mixolydian mode right there. So the C major scale. But the 5th degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, G. So if I played the C major scale starting on G, it would be the G Mixolydian mode. So it's good to know where it comes from. You know, it comes from the C major family. So C is the parent key. When you play a G Mixolydian mode, you're essentially playing a C major scale, but starting on the G. So here's C major. Watch this. Here's the G. G Mixolydian. C major. Same notes. C. C kind of wants to resolve to C, doesn't it? If I play G Mixolydian, see how it kind of wants to go to that? It's like that 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wants to resolve to that. And that's all in G. Wants to resolve to there. But you don't always have to do that. You know, you don't always have to resolve to the C right there. You could play just resolve to it itself, to the G right there. But functionally, they're different right there. The G is the home chord right there. G major scale, G Ionian, has its thing. Just like I played the 1, 4, 5 in G. You could play the G major scale over the whole thing. Just like this progression right here, where it's like it's a G chord, a C, a D. So you know right off the bat when there's a chord progression, it's a G, a C, a D, and a G again. You know that you're in the key of G right there, because you have you know, when you have two major chords next to each other, that's usually it's a 4 and a 5. It goes back to the G chord right there. So you know you could play the G major scale. Now it's a little different than a blues context. You know, blues would be like a different sound, and you would recognize that sound right off the bat. You know, when you hear like a G to a C to a D to a G, it's it's not really a blues sound. You almost have to hear that it's more of a major scale sound. A blues would be more of like a it's got that dominant, the 3 dominant chords together. And you wouldn't really play it like in that rhythm. You would play it more like like has more of a shuffle thing to it too. But these are just they're not really rules or anything. It's just like you're just trying to hear it in your head, the feel. Like something like this, you just know it's the major scale. Like if you heard it over this progression, it just works. The major scale works over this. Check it out. See, major scale just works over that. Look what, if I play the Mixolydian mode, let's see what it sounds like over that. Same progression. It's not going to sound right, at least in my opinion. It might sound kind of cool, but check it out. See? Doesn't work because it's not in the same key. These are 2 different keys, number 1. And the reason that doesn't work is when I play the F, I might go when I went to the C chord, and I went to the D, it's changing it to a minor. That's what the problem is there. When I went to the C chord, I played the F over that. Really the only difference, like we said already, is that there's an F or an F sharp. And the major scale is an F sharp. And the Mixolydian is an F. So when we went during that progression, we played the second chord C. If I hit an F note, now what that's doing over C is it's playing a 4th instead of its normal sharp 4 in there. Okay, and also when we played the D chord, the 5 chord, it's giving you an F, which is making it minor. And I'm playing a D major, which is that F sharp. So that's the technical reason right there. Any questions about any of this stuff, let me know. And, okay, so that's really important to know. Now, I'm just going to bust out to what the real reason I'm making this video right now is because there's a lot of people that leave this out. And I know that it's maybe no one cares about this stuff in these modes, right? How important are they, these modes? Well, I just think that they're really, really important. They're not like super, super important, the only thing that's important. There's lots of stuff more important, but it's something that you shouldn't overlook, is what I'm saying. People overlook these all the time and they move on to other things, but it's definitely something worth knowing. It just makes a lot of sense because all music is based around these things, so to overlook them is a mistake, I think, in my opinion. So here's why I'm passionate about showing you the importance between these 2 things. Now check this out. People do a lot of licks that are like this, right? Or in a blues context, they'll go like this and they'll say, well, you gotta play this major thing right here. And it's like, in a blues. So you get that. That's a very traditional blues thing. But that's Mixolydian right there. And you have to know that. I think you'd have to know that that's a Mixolydian lick right there. It's not a major scale lick at all. So people really overlook explaining that. Because really what this is, yeah, it's a major chord right here. There, it's a dominant chord right there. So if I was playing major, it would sound like this. And that's a completely different sound right there. You know? That's something that would work more over this. The first progression. We have a, because it's the third. See what I'm doing right there? Here's the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, and the 1 chord again. And all that lick is it's part of this 1 chord. It's the 3rd and the 5th. This next part, it's the root and the 3rd of the 4 chord. And this one is the root and the 3rd of the 5 chord. See, over this progression, it would work. Shifting around the progression. So in a blues context, though, you wouldn't do. You would do like that, right? And that's the major thing that I think a lot of people leave out when they're talking about this stuff, and why you shouldn't overlook the differences. Because these little licks right here are completely different, right there. And what makes them different is this. Check this out. This right here, over the major chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, and the 1. But in the blues, it would be, this is not a 1 chord anymore. So learning the intervals are very important right here. Check this out. Here's the G chord, the 1 chord, in a major key. Ionian mode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That's the major scale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So here's the 3rd and the 5th. Something I'm going to call these 3 and 5. 3 and 5. But if it's a 5 chord, it's no longer 3, 5. Yeah, it's a 3rd and the 5th, but harmonically, think of it as the 7th degree of the scale. And this would be going up 1. Right there. And 2, 1, 7. And the reason I get to 7th degree, is just count it. 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're just changing the numbers around here. Instead of this being 1, now it's 5. So you continue the counting up that scale. 5, 6, 7. So it's just the degrees, and there's only 7 degrees. So in a blues context, now that you know this is 7, 1, if that's 1, the key of C, it's the root, so it's 1 of C. Now if you harmonize the major scale, but over G, you get that 2. So that's how you get the sound. That's where it comes from. You're just essentially playing the C major scale. It's a good way to remember it in your head. C. It's just a C major scale harmonized, but over G, right? Just like that. So that's why knowing in the blues that you're really playing the C major scale right there. If you wanted to harmonize it and understand what you're playing here. Mixolydian mode. And you can only get that in the Mixolydian mode. Not the G Ionian mode or G major mode like that. So hopefully you understand that. Any questions about this stuff, let me know. And so yeah, the harmony of that, you know, it really depends on how you internalize it. in your head. When you're playing a G7 chord, it's really the 5 chord of C. So essentially that's where I'm getting at right there. G7 is the 5 chord of C. So if I was playing any of those dyads or triads or anything over a G7, I would have to know, like in my mind, that that's a D minor right there. Whereas in G major, it would be a major chord. And that wouldn't sound very bluesy at all right there, right? If I went. It's very happy. But if you do this, all that is a D minor chord now. It's part of the D minor of this shape right here. What you really need to know is all the chords that make up the G major scale here. You got G, so check this out. G major scale. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. So all those numbers represent chords as well. The 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord, and back to the top again. One chord is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, 7 is half diminished, and then back to the top again. When you're talking about the Mixolydian mode, that sequence of harmony changes, because now this is the G is a 5 chord of C, right? So it would be like starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. It would be like starting on the D. This is the 5 chord right here, right? But this is the 5 chord now. So now you have to think, okay, well here's 5, 6, 7, then back to C. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 again. So now you have a major chord. 6 would be a minor chord. 7 is half diminished. A lot easier to play it down there. Back to the 1, major chord. 2, minor chord. 3, minor. 4, major. So it's almost like you're playing them parallel with each other, really, right? So if you're thinking about harmony, you're thinking about, well, the chords of C, but based on this, G7 right there. So if I think, okay, well, if I'm playing the blues, I know that this A minor in there. I know that there's a B half diminished in there. I know that there's a C. If this was the G major scale, the A, okay, it would be minor right there. There's a 2, but then there would be a B minor in there, but it's not B minor in the blues. B half diminished, B minor 7 flat 5, like that. Now the C 4 chord. Now here's where it gets a little different right there. Is this B is the 5 chord, so it would be a B minor right there over the G. Instead of B major, it's B minor right there. So it's 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Third chord. So that's a difference right there. Then you have the E will be minor in G major, but it's also minor in G7. And here's where you get a different, right here too, difference. You have this minor 7 flat 5 here, which would be an F major instead. So you have these chords right here that are different. So in G major, you have the G, you'd have a D, and you'd also have a F sharp minor 7 flat 5 there. Like that. This is all major key stuff. And all this F sharp minor 7 flat 5 here, it's really like a harmony of a D7. Whereas in the blues, you'd have a G7, you have a D minor, you'd have an F. See, those chords make up a bluesier sound, right? A G, a D, and an F half diminished make up the sound of really of a major. So it sounds like it wants to resolve to you. Whereas this one is more of a bluesy. And what's the point of me telling you all this? Is that is a difference. Like, you should know this stuff. This very, very fine, minute difference, but it's one note difference, but it makes all the difference in the world. I think it's overlooked, and I think it's very important. Personally, the difference between the major scale and the Mixolydian Mode. Mixolydian Mode. It's a big difference. It is the mix. It's not a dominant scale. It is a dominant scale, but it's not the dominant scale, because there's lots of dominant scales. There's Phrygian dominance. It's like. That's a dominant scale. It's not the same as this. Right? Okay, so if you call this a dominant scale, it's one of many dominant scales. But this is only one Mixolydian mode. That's the Mixolydian mode. And it's the only one ever. It's a Mixolydian mode. Not to be confused with a kind of dominant scale. One of many dominant scales. So, you know, it's really how pinpoint, how accurate do you want to be by calling with your labels of things. That's what it is. I always think that the most important one is, you know, comparing these two, because when you're talking about the context of these scales, you know, especially in the blues, you know, you're playing a Mixolydian mode. And you go into that 4 chord, you're playing a C Mixolydian now. Back to the G Mixolydian mode. And over the D Mixolydian mode. The G. Back to the G right there. And then if you want it to be bluesy, Mixolydian, not major. Totally different thing. This backing track that I made, 3 chords for a major. G major chord, C is the 4 chord, D is the 5 chord, the G. You can play the G major scale through the whole thing. Or G minor pentatonic. Or even this, switch pentatonics between the 3 chords. Mixolydian. It's just one note different. It's the 7th degree. So just one note changes everything. I have a guitar course called the Essential Skills Collection for Guitar. And I talk about 4 important topics. Fretboard memorization, the easiest way to show how to find all the notes all over the guitar neck. The circle of fifths, where it's a visual way to really just kind of see how chords work together. Really cool to look at. Blues soloing, which we're doing a little bit now, where I have backing tracks and lots of PDFs and graphs and stuff like that. And then I go through the cage system, which is really cool, showing the different shapes all over the neck. But I do it in 2-5-1s, so I can show you the 2 chord, the 5 chord, and the 1 in 5 positions, which is very, very helpful to you. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the description. Please check that out. I put a lot of time and work into that. I would appreciate that. So remember, be cool, everybody. Be kind, and be cherry. If you want to see another video on how to use triads to hear the sound of modes, check out the video right there. Love yous. See you in the next one. Have a great week. Peace, y'all.